I have to say, first of all, that if you expect Americans to be loud, brash, and obnoxious, you've come to the right place. I intend to be that times 10 today, because that's what I'm known for. In fact, I must also tell those of you who are from Norway, how many of you are from Norway? I feel a kindred spirit. My wife is Norwegian. Yeah. Every holiday I have lefse and krumkake, pickled herring, and occasionally I'm forced to eat lutefisk. Mostly I just drink the butter and throw away the fish, right? My wife is, to be here at the end of the day is always difficult to be the last speaker, but I will do my best. It reminds me the first time I met Grandma Agnes, also from Norway. And Grandma Agnes is the matriarch of our family, small, tiny, petite woman. Now, my wife is 5'1", about 105 pounds. I'm 6'3", 208 some pounds. And the first time I met Grandma Agnes, she looked up at me, and she looked at Tammy, and she looked up at me, and she looked at Tammy, she looked up at me, and turned back to her and said, "Isn't he bigger than necessary?" Okay? So, I will try my best, okay? Thank you. Everywhere I go, every time I'm on television, which was twice this week, I finished the finale of The Celebrity Apprentice with Donald Trump, where I've been a judge for 3 years on that show. I was on television Monday morning before I flew here Monday night, and everyone asked me about Kodak. What happened? Why? Why did such a company that was so great go bankrupt? I mean, they had the only product that people would actually run back into a burning building to save. Right? I know that to be true. Back in 2001, I was struck by lightning. True story. Lightning came through my house all the way into the basement, struck me. I'm laying out. I can't hear. I can't see. And as I wake up, my wife is running by with a box of photos going, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" Don't laugh, gentlemen. That's you. But everywhere, people go and they say, "Jeff, what happened?" Everywhere you go and anywhere in the world, you would see these Kodak signs, and people would stand and take a picture and say it's a Kodak moment. See, they didn't go bankrupt this last year or come out of it this year. They went bankrupt back in 1975. See, that was the turning point. In 1975, in December, in a cold evening in Rochester, New York, a gentleman by the name of Steve Sasson invented the digital camera. In 1975, he took different parts and put them together and actually took a photograph, the very first digital photograph of a photograph. And you can imagine what it was like for him to be so innovative, so ground-changing, so new, to take this box, which is about like this, and to take it to executive offices like mine and others in the company, one by one, to say, "Look at what I've invented. Look at what we've got, the innovation. Look at all these patents. I put them all together, and I've created this new box that will redefine the way that we take photographs, the way in which we take Kodak moments." And every one of them said, "Put it away. Put it away." See, they said, "Don't mess with the film." How many of you bought a roll of film in the last year? Raise your hands. Thank you, sir. You made their quarter. And how many of you own a digital camera on your phone? Raise your hands. Welcome to the world. Because when I started the company back in 2006, that year, we were doing $17 billion in film. And when I left 4 years later, less than $200 million in film revenue. you think you've got sales problems, right? Imagine what that's like. See, it's not business as usual anymore. It's much different. We have to learn to innovate. And so even though all of us who are very smart executives and people who have done, like I have, 250 different companies, over $25 billion worth of transaction in buying and selling companies, some great, some not so great. And regardless of all that experience, we couldn't turn it around. And why? In the front of my book, I put this saying to all the naysayers, opportunists, obstructionists who stand in the way of driving change in an organization. Note, we will beat you. I listened to some of the speeches over the last day, and yesterday I heard the reports of what Freak did, and then it was fabulous, and then the Pixar presentation, and then the free-base jumper. And people said, well, that doesn't deal much with business. And I said, au contraire, it does. Because, see, you don't understand, because when you're in business for yourself and you're out there driving, there are going to be people who are going to be saying no and constantly coming at you. And even when you have permission, even when you're in charge, they will be fighting you every step of the way. And this is what I call running the gauntlet. And this is the problem that we faced inside the company. In fact, what we have to start to do, and we have to build this mantra for ourselves and innovation for driving companies to be successful, is to adapt, change, or you will die. It's really that simple. That's the kind of economy we're in today. That's the kind of world we live in today. Adapt my business, change my business, or die. At the point at which you think you've got it to where you exactly want it, you're ready to start to coast, is when you need to start to change. Adapt, change, or die. And a lot of us think that driving change, we don't want to just drive change in organizations for change's sake. No one gets an automobile and locks in the steering wheel. No one puts the gas pedal all the way down. We adjust, we change, we steer. And that's what we should do in business. But yet most of us put our business plans together and we think success is going to look like a point from A to B, and it never looks like that. In fact, it always looks like the right-hand side. Adapt, change, or die. See, what we need are agents of change. People what I call clock changers. When I went to Kodak, I was so excited to go to Kodak. I'm going to be the chief marketing officer of one of the most iconic brands in the world. A Fortune 100 company. It's harder to get into a Fortune 100 company as an officer than to be a professional athlete. I mean, I could be a professional athlete better or easier than I could be as a C-level executive. I was excited. I was so excited I went a week early. Yeah, before I passed the urine test or anything, I jumped on a plane and I flew to Rochester. People, that's funny. That's funny. That's a good joke. You should laugh. It's my best stuff. It's not getting any better. You guys sound like a bunch of Lutherans. Yeah, I'm Lutheran. Lutherans live in constant fear that someplace, sometime, somewhere, someone's having a good time. That's funny too. Come on. Pretend you're Baptist. Give me an amen. Amen. Oh, brothers and sisters, now you sound like Germans. Now, come on. When I ask you for an amen, I want an amen. Okay, if your name's Goldstein or Feinstein, throw in an oy vey. Give me an amen. Amen. Much better. We're going to have a revival. Start passing the collection plate right now. I was so excited I jumped on a plane like a week early. I'm sitting next to this 25, 26-year-old gal, and I'm trying to engage her in a conversation because I want her to ask me what I do, you know? So I can tell her, and she starts talking about herself. Yeah, like I want to hear any of that crap. Blah, 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 blah. Finally, she takes a break and says, well, what do you do? I said, well, thank you for asking. I'm the chief marketing officer of the Eastman Kodak company. And she said, who's that? True story. So I wanted to test the mettle of my team, and I had some, at the time, 2,500 marketing people working for me at the time. And so I decided to go ahead and call meetings of various teams. And when I would call the meeting together in a room, I would get there early, and on the wall would be a clock like this. You've seen them in most of the big offices. And I would get on a chair, and I would move the clock ahead by about 20 minutes. Because when people started to walk in, they would look at the clock. They'd look at their watch, look at the clock, look at their watch, look at the clock, and they'd look at the agenda, and then they would say, hey, the clock's wrong. And then they would start, what time do you have? What time do you have? What time do you have? And then they would start to have a conversation about the stupid clock, and it was wrong. And then pretty soon they'd start saying, we should do something about this. This is outrageous. We come to these meetings and the clocks are wrong. Who should we call? And I would say, move on, let's go. And day after day after day, this happened. People would come in the room, look at the clock, look at their watch, look at the clock, look at the watch. It's outrageous. They started forming committees about what we should do about the clock. Finally, I just said to somebody, why don't you do something about it? And a woman got up. She went over to the clock. She put a chair underneath. She stood on the chair. She hiked up her dress. She stood on the chair and she changed the clock. I made her my chief of staff the very next day. Right? That's a true story. True story. She's running a billion-dollar company today. She's doing great. See, we need clock changers. That's what we need. We need leaders. People just said, like you in this room, just say, we're going to change it. We're going to do it. Just do it. Nobody's going to fire you. No one's going to get in trouble for doing the right things. Just do it. That's what we have to do half the time, especially the bigger the corporation, the more action you have to take. No one will know that you did it anyway, and when it becomes successful, they'll take credit for it anyway. That's the way it works. In fact, what we're looking for is notable assets. That's what, as a leader, all these people come to me all the time. Well, I know what the problem is. I know what the problem. Shit, I know what the problem is. I don't need anyone telling me the problem. I need some freaking solutions. That's what I need. I need people who are problem solvers, not problem seekers. I need people who are change agents to the process. I need people who are cheerleaders to reinforce the goals once we've decided what they are. And then I need people who work between the silos, the seam operators, those people who say who don't say it's not my job, it's over there. They don't care. That's what we want. That's what we need. Be clock changers. Just like Freak said there were 5 things that he saw yesterday, I see 5. 5 things that stop companies from being really successful. Number 1, fear. We're afraid. It's true. It's inherent. Look, all my life, I wanted to be a cowboy growing up. My father was in the military. We moved from Air Force Base to Air Force Base. Finally, when I got to be in my 30s, I said, I am going to be a cowboy. I live in South Dakota. Anyone know where South Dakota is? Yeah, this is what we call population density right here in this room. Seriously, there are more people in the stands of the Indianapolis 500 the day of the race than our entire state of South Dakota. That's funny too, people. I wanted to be a cowboy, except I didn't own a horse. I didn't even own boots at the time. So I went out and got the hat, I got the boots. I decided to get a trailer because I was going to have to haul the horse. I went and got saddles, one for me, one for my wife, my son, my daughter, and an extra one just in case. I got the blankets, the reins. I got everything you could buy, the ropes, everything. I went out and got 2 horses. I read the book, Horses for Dummies. I watched the videos. I called everybody I knew that had horses. I asked them, and I bought my first horse. I got the horse in the trailer. I decided that before I took him to my ranch, I needed to probably take him to a stables where there would be other horses. And since I didn't know how to do anything, I figured that would be a good place for me to learn, too, because I would see people with other horses, and maybe the horse wouldn't be so lonely, and I could figure it out. And I remember I got the horse out of the trailer, and I tied him to the fence, and I'm going to ride my horse for the first time. This is awesome. And so I tried to put the reins on. I don't know if you've ever put reins on a horse with the ears, and there's different straps, and it's very tough, and so I pissed off the horse. I made him very agitated. Can you say pissed off here? Good, because I say pissed off a lot, so it's good. If you thought this was going to be a normal corporate presentation, you can kiss that shit goodbye, okay? So just right off the bat. So yeah, you can see why I fit in big with big corporations, right? The average lifespan of a CMO is 23 months. I make that about half usually. You know? Oh, that's funny. Come on. So I remember I got the horse, and so I'm trying to get the reins, and he doesn't like it, and he's moving around, he's agitated, and then I try to put the saddle on, the saddle blanket, and I strap it on, and it flips over, and he's bucking, and so I finally decide I need some help, and I look across the way, and there's this, way over there's like this 14-year-old young little girl, and I walk up to her, big strapping cowboy, and I say to her, can you help me saddle my horse, you know? You want to innovate? You want to be different? You want to be great? In order to be a maestro, you have to learn to play a lot of bad notes. And see, that's what companies need to do. You need to take it. It's scary. I remember the first time I did a high dive when I was a kid. I'm scared of heights. If I wear 2 pairs of socks, I get a nosebleed. Okay? But I remember when I was standing up there almost peeing my pants at the pool, waiting to jump off, and finally everybody was screaming at me and the guys behind me were lining up, and finally I jumped off, and halfway down I'm going, yeah, I can't wait to do this again. That's what it's like. You have to be a beginner, no matter what you're doing, no matter where you're at in the process. Never be afraid, even if you're the chief marketing officer, the chief executive officer, the chief legal officer. Don't be afraid to ask silly questions. Number 2, tension. As a leader, your job should be to cause tension, healthy debate, if you want to call it that, but tension. Your job should be able to take everybody from the center of the stage and move them to the edge. That's what we're supposed to do, is cause tension. That's what leaders do. You should become the chief tension officer. Because through the tension, through healthy debate, becomes something new. Oh, you're going to have those people in your operation like legal in HR. Those sneaky bastards, you know. They'll bring everybody back where it's nice and safe, but don't let them do that. Their job is not to stop you. Their job is to make sure that you don't fall off the stage. You set the business rules. You create the tension. They just make sure you don't screw up. Number 3, radical transparency, especially the age of social media. Being radically transparent about being open and honest with everybody in your operation, talking about the things that maybe everybody should know. How many times have you been in a meeting and there's this huge elephant sitting in the room right there? Everybody knows about it, but nobody wants to talk about it. Let's say, don't look, don't talk, don't say it, don't mention it. You leave the room and right away you turn to your partner. Did you see it? Yes, I saw it. You come back a week later, now it's 2 of them wearing pink tutus and dancing on the table. Radical transparency. And some of you, even when you start a new business, I know there's a lot of young entrepreneurs that are going to be here. And you're going to be afraid because you don't have any money, you don't do it. Listen, I've done hundreds of businesses, some good, some bad. And when things are really rough and things are having to pay things with cash, all my employees know. And when I start going to expensive, lavish trips to Norway, they know when it's going pretty good, right? Radically transparent. It's changed. See, we used to have a company where we dictated how we would communicate with our employees, how we would communicate with our customers. We had 800 numbers, toll-free numbers. We only opened from, 9 to 5, and you can only call us on this number. And then there was this stupid telephone tree that you had to dial 7 and 8 and then 5. That shit's over. It's changed. And it's different. Number 4, risk. Taking risk. In the States, I'll tell you this story, and some of you in the UK will know this too, because it was a very worldwide fight. We decided at Kodak to move into the Inkjet business. We decided that we were going to go in there because it was a good business, and our CEO was the former number 2 person at another company that also did this. I can't mention their name, but you know the model, the inkjet printers, you know about this. Basically, the model is you get a printer for free off the shelf, but the inkjet cartridges are locked up behind the counter, right? Most expensive liquid on the face of the earth. Ink. Ink. They talk about the price of oil. Every night I watch the news, anywhere in the world, what the price of oil. Don't tell me about the price of oil, tell me about the price of ink. Ink. You know what's more expensive per ounce than oil? I'll get there in just a second. No, bottled water's more expensive than oil per ounce. You know what's more expensive than bottled water? Vodka. Vodka. Vodka's more expensive. If you had a really good year, you know what's more expensive than vodka? Champagne. And if you've had too much vodka and champagne, which many of you might have tonight, you know what's more expensive than that? Penicillin. Penicillin, you might need that. And then, if you add up life-saving penicillin, vodka, champagne, bottled water, and oil times a factor of 10, ink! Ink! Basically, we give you a crack pipe and sell you the crack. That's what it's like. Now, I can't mention the company that we're up against, but they made $9 billion last year off of ink alone. $9 billion. I can't tell you their name because they're suing me. They got attorneys in this room watching me right now. Their initials are HP, okay? Now, woo! I am fired up now. Saddle up, we're going for a ride. So I'm in this huge fight. Why, by the way, do you know what? So our model was basically a fair price for the printer, half price for the ink. And I called it Pricey Ink Stinks. And that was the campaign that we started to push. And we moved from a number 13 spot to a number 3 spot in less than a year. So it was a very highly publicized fight. And I kept trying to poke at Big Ink. That's what I called them, Big Ink. I said, I was just poke at them because every time I poked at them, they'd have to talk about it, and I get to talk about Pricey Ink. So in the United States, to give you an example, if we pay $4 a gallon for gas, which I know, just shush. You guys go, oh, well, we would like that. But when we pay $4 a gallon for gas, Americans are going, this is outrageous. Outrageous. A 20-gallon tank, it cost me $80. This is bullshit. Someone should do something about it. Do you know what it would cost you to fill up your gas tank with ink from Big Ink? Anybody want to guess? Come on. How much? 20,000? 5,000? Not even close. $462,000. Ink! Now at Kodak, I was going to only charge you half that, okay? Because we cared. And also I was going after what we call high burners. Decided to not go after every consumer. I only wanted high burners. Those people who use 4 times as many cartridges as anyone else. That means I was 4 times as more profitable and faster than my competitor. I would go after the cream of the crop of the marketplace, and that's what we went for. Now, prior to me getting there, my predecessors went after France, Germany, and all these other places, and I said, why are you doing all those places? Just concentrate one place at a time, build it, and then go from there. I call it step and repeat. And then as we have to do things in French, why don't we go to Canada? Why don't we go to France? If we have to do them in Spanish, let's go to Hispanic countries or Spanish-speaking countries, rather than trying to do it in other languages and add to the complexity of our problems. I'm a very practical kind of thinker that way. So we were out there launching the product, and I wanted to find a way in which we could get the message out. So I decided to do a commercial, and I decided to do a mobile campaign. A mobile campaign. We all know about mobile phones now, right? We're all using them. And this is the most personal device in the world. We know where this device is more than we know where our children are, right? Where's my phone? That's what you worry about. Children, I don't care. My phone, my phone. So 5 years ago, before anybody was doing mobile campaigns, I decided to do a campaign where people would go into a motion picture theater. They would because we found out the high burners love to watch movies. And so they were very artistic, but they loved to go and see motion pictures. So we decided to do a campaign where they would watch in the motion picture, we'd do an ad, and when they saw the ad, they would see it, and they would text us, and we would give them a mobile campaign, and they would get a coupon off. Sounds pretty cool, right? So we went out, and we tested this. Double-digit response. I had double-digit response. As a marketer, I'm peeing my pants. This is exciting. This is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Here's the spot. We hired Vinnie Pastore. That's Vinnie up there. You remember Vinnie? He played on Big Pussy on The Sopranos. Remember that? Big on The Sopranos? He was a gangster because who better to show the decadence of this model than a gangster? So imagine what it was like. He was in a black Lincoln Continental. He drives up on the East River outside of New York. He gets out of the car. He's wearing a black leather coat. He's carrying a baseball bat. He walks around the trunk. He opens up the trunk. Creak. He looks in the trunk at what you think's a body. And out of there is the camera shots looking up at him as he's leaning over, and he goes, "You lied to us. You cheated us. You've been robbing us blind." The family says, "You've got to go." And then we show a picture of an HP Inkjet printer in the trunk. I got a lot of trouble for that, but that's okay. Fuck them if they can't take a joke. That's what I say. So, you know that word. I just make sure. It's a universal word. He takes it out. He puts it on the ground. He beats it with a baseball bat. He ties a chain around it, ties it to a cement block, and he throws it into the river. He gets back in the Lincoln Continental, puts his arm around a Kodak printer, and he says, "Welcome to the family." Headline says, "Don't get whacked by high inkjet prices. Text such and such number and get 50% off of pricey ink." As I mentioned, we tested it, double-digit response. I told the team nationwide, let it go, get it out there. Let me see this thing out there. Over the weekend, we went nationwide. I was going from motion picture theater to motion picture theater. I'm watching people's reaction. It was awesome. It was awesome. People are laughing. They were getting it. It was fantastic. Monday morning, I sit down. Two people walk in. On a sheet of paper, we got the number of texts that we got over the weekend. They put the piece of paper down on my desk. They slid it across. I pick it up. I look at it. On there is written the number 2. I said, "What, 2 million?" They go, "No, Jeff, 2. I go, whoa. I spent millions on this campaign, and all I got was 2 texts. I can tell you right now that's not a good return on my investment, okay? I said, get everybody in the room that had anything to do with the campaign. It was in a room much like this, and I got there and I held up the sheet of paper. I said, 2 texts. That's all we got. 2 texts. I'm going to have to sit before the board of the directors, the chairman of the company, and I'm going to have to explain why the hell we did this campaign. All we got was 2 texts. That's all we got. I said, folks, this was a funny commercial. We had double-digit response. Even the people at InnoTown in Norway found this funny. I mean, come on. And all you're telling me is all you got was 2 texts. That's it. Somebody better start explaining to me what the hell went wrong with this campaign. Finally, someone in the back of the room raised their hand. I go, what? They go, Jeff, what do you do when you walk into a motion picture theater with your phone? What do you do? Turn it off. I said, where the hell were you when we came up with this idea? True story. Absolutely true story. I turned back to him and I said, look, we take risk. We're in marketing. No one died. No one died. That's what we're supposed to do. As business leaders, we're supposed to take risk. Now, if you're in shipping and some of these other industries, obviously you want to be careful. But by and large, if you're a marketer, the most that could happen may be a paper cut, you know? No one's going to die. I turned back to the team. I said, repurpose this. Find a different way to use this asset because it's good. That year, we grew the product line by 1,427%. So even when we're spiraling down, we have things that are spiraling up. Most of our digital products at Kodak at the time were growing in double digit. A lot of the digital parts of the company today are growing in double digit. But you don't know that. See, because you think of the old Kodak, not the new Kodak. The new Kodak is a B2B company. Has been for a number of years. But they failed to innovate. They failed to recognize. They failed to take the shadow, the shell of what was huge over them and move it to the side. And sometimes we have to do that. That's what being business is about. Making decisions. To innovate, but yet to act, is death. A great idea that will go nowhere. And if you look at the annals of business, those are everywhere. Innovate, but to act. And the reason that most places fail are in the areas of promises, of not making promises. I had an interview earlier today with a publication, and I talked about we had 3 types of businesses that we looked at in the company. We had what we called, in fact, you could make a pie chart. You should do this in your operation, make a pie chart, and divide up in that piece of the pie, that part of the business which is your cash. That is the business that just generates cash. And we had a good number of those businesses. In fact, if you got rid of most of the stuff at Kodak, it would still make billions of dollars a year. Billions! Just in the B2B business. It's unbelievable. But yet we still kept trying to do all this stuff. So we had cash business. Cash generates cash. That's all it does. Not a growth business, cash business. Then we had those businesses that were our growth businesses. Those businesses that we were going to say, this is our future. Those are the businesses we take the cash and we double down, we bet. We put all of our money. They're their fair-haired children, if you want to say. Those are the children that are going to get all the good stuff. Because, see, they're our future. And then we had those pieces of the business, those pieces of the pie that we called transactional. Transitional. Those businesses are transitional. That means if you've ever been to an amusement park, you've ever seen that little character that says, you must be this high to ride the ride. In those, they had to have a certain amount of profitability, a certain amount of growth, or a certain amount of dollar volume that was going to get past the level of the ride. Except we never made those changes. All those transactional businesses from the time I started there, were still there when I left, and we're still there until last year. Innovate but not act is suicide. It's not business as usual anymore. But yet we thought it was. We thought we could outlast that. See, and it's the promises. It's about getting with those business leaders that are in that transactional business and saying to those you're in transition. If you don't make it to this level, we're going to fire you. We love you, but we're going to miss you. We have to make those decisions. We have to be good customers. We have to be good leaders. It works like this. Have you ever been to McDonald's? Oh, I know you have, because so many of you aren't making eye contact with me right now. When I go to McDonald's, we drive up. It works like this. I go to the very first window, or the first little speaker, and I shout out my order. I pull up to the next window. I give them my money, my cash, so that I can get my order. When I pull up to the next window, I'm supposed to get my food. Isn't that the way it works, right? And how many times when you pull up to that window, they go, no, I'm sorry, it's not quite ready yet. I'm sorry, sir, if you would pull right up over here, we'll bring your food out to you in a few moments. And then we'll let all these other customers go by, but if you would pull over here and wait, we'll bring the food over to you. Has that ever happened? Yes. Well, do what I do. Fight back. And I say, when they say, sir, would you mind pulling over there? I go, no, thank you. I'll wait. And I roll my window back up. Oh, yeah, this is what happens. Pretty soon, a 14-year-old assistant manager comes over and knocks on your window. I open up the window, and she says to me, sir, if you don't pull forward, you're going to hold everybody up. I go, I don't care, I don't mind, and I roll my window back up. Pretty soon, the 16-year-old manager comes over and knocks on the window. Said, sir, is there a problem? Yes, there's a problem. There is a problem. You know why? I'll tell you why. Because I'll tell you right now, clowns lie. They lie. They're scary. We had a promise, my friend. I gave you my order. You took it. I gave you my money. You took it. I'm here to get my food. You're not giving it to me. You're asking me to pull over here to parking purgatory, but yet you're not renegotiating the promise. If you want to give me one of those, I don't know, McMinty shakes that I like, or one of those apple pies, I'll pull over there. But if you're not, I'll stay right here, and I roll my window back up. Now when I go to McDonald's, I shout out my order. I pay my money to the first window. I get to the second window. My food is thrown into the car as I'm driving by. That's what we have to do. We have to drive promises, or what I call mutual conditions of satisfaction. It works like this. There's a customer, there's a performer, and there's just some basic steps. It looks like this. We have 4 different phases to it. I'll step out of the way. 4 different phases to it. First of all, the first phase, we have the offer. That is, we make an offer. I need this. I want this. The second phase, the agreement. You agree to do it in a certain time, phrase, number, color, quality level. You go up and actually do the work. In phase 3 and phase 4, you do delivery and the acceptance of that delivery. We need more of this in business. In fact, in our businesses that we own, that we participate in, we talk about this. What's your promise? This is important. What's your promise amongst the team members, amongst the customers, amongst our vendors? Our promises. That's what we want. See, and you want to ask yourself, why are you in this game? Why are you doing the things that you're doing? You know, I talk about it being, what's your elevator pitch? I was listening to some of you during the breaks of what is it you do? Tell me. When I was at Kodak, I had over 3,500 vendors. 3,500 marketing vendors. Too many. By the time I left, I had 170. I screamed it down. In fact, they spent 86% of the budget below the line. Everything above the line was advertising or marketing. Below the line, the marketing budget, 86% was below the line. And I said, we're going to flip that over before I get out of here, and we did. By the time I left, I had 74% above the line of outbound marketing or advertising. That's the way companies should be. But yet we were spending all this money, and we had all these vendors, and they would come to me, and at the end of the hour, they would do this PowerPoint presentation, and I still didn't know what they did. They had 48 pages. I mean, it's an elevator pitch. I decided we needed a 118. This is what I did. I told every company that came to me, this is it. Because you must live in bigger buildings than I do, because it's taking you an hour, and I still don't know what you do. So your elevator pitch must be a huge building. So I said, this is it. You have 118 seconds. Write this down. 8 seconds is the average attention span of an adult. I know that to be true. I looked it up on the internet. Okay? 110 seconds is the average elevator ride in New York City. From the time you press the button, wait for the doors to open, step on, right up, right down, and get off. That's how much time you have. So you have 8 seconds to hook me. Hook me. You know, have you ever done those presentations where you're talking to someone and it's so exciting that you actually lean in? You want to hear the rest of it? That's the hook. That's what we call in the parlance of marketing or sales, the hook. What's your hook? What sets you apart? And then 110 seconds to close me. And talk about the value statements, the value that you're going to provide to me. And by the way, don't waste your time saying, oh, I work with this company and this company and this company and this company. I don't care. What are you going to do for me? Some of you say, well, Jeff, that's not enough time. I said, oh, come on. If Moses can do it in 2 PowerPoint slides of 5 bullet points each, you can do it in a lot less time. And I know that you're passionate about it. I'm passionate. I'm passionate about pheasants. I love pheasants. I love those little ringneck pheasants we have back at home, and they're the little tail feathers and the little ringneck collar, and they run around, and I love to watch them, and then I love to get a gun, hunt them down, and kill them. I love pheasants. I was so passionate about pheasants that I started a pheasant farming operation in South Dakota. Tens and tens of thousands of pheasants I had. I was going to corner the market on pheasants till I realized there wasn't one. One night in South Dakota, we had this torrential thunderstorm, like 3 inches of rain in less than a half an hour. And I used to love to, I actually made pens the size of soccer fields or football fields, like 100 meters, and I would put telephone poles around them and string them with nets so that the pheasants could run free before I killed them. And I remember one night we had this torrential thunderstorm with 3 inches of rain in half an hour. And I had 10,000 pheasants one evening. Look up into the sky as it was raining. Open up their little beaks and drown. These are the stupidest fucking birds on the face of the earth. I'm telling you, stupid, stupid birds. They call birds foul, and pheasants are the primary reason. And then I want you to think about what you look like. As you're building your business, what do you look like? And how sharp do you... Look at this business jacket. This is what I call the business mullet of coats. Yes, business on the outside, party on the inside. Right? That's what we want. I want you to think about that and what your brand stands for. In fact, I heard people talking about brand over the last couple of days. Brand. People talk about it like it's something. Brand is something that cowboys invented. In fact, that's where the word came from. We take our cattle, we let them loose on the range, and when they mix with other cattle, we brand them so we know who the ownership is. In fact, that's what a brand means. A brand means the iconic representation of ownership on the side of a bovine. Or, it's a promise delivered. So what is the promise that you deliver to your customer? And how do you make that happen? What is that promise? You know, at Kodak, they would come to me and say, Jeff, make us cool again. Well, you can't be cool and dress like Elmer Fudd. Right? You got to stand for something. In fact, we were building this printer that's right up here, and we were selling it in Dusseldorf at the big print show. And they came to me and said, Jeff, we're going to announce this printer, and it's $4 million. That's what the cost of it is, $4 million. That's what it costs, $4 million. It's the fastest printer in the world. It's an inkjet printer. No one's ever made it. It's glossy coated stock, which is, glossy stock, clay coated stock, and shoots out 4,000 pages a minute of variable text, customized, individualized, personalized. Basically, trees go on one side, sheets of paper shoot out the other side. That's what it is. And it's the world's fastest. It was unbelievable. And they showed it to me, and it looked like this big gray box, like a big trailer, tractor trailer. That's what it looked like. And I said, oh my gosh, no, we can't launch that. I said, I'm not letting you do it. They said, Jeff, but we are. I said, no. I said, when I stand up in front of 8,000 people at the show and we pull the covers off of it, I want people to go, oh. I want them to run up to it, want their picture taken. It should look like a Maserati. It should look like a Ferrari. It should look like fire is coming out of its ass as it's sitting there on the showroom floor. They said to me, Jeff, do you mind if we have a couple weeks to redesign it? I said, sure. They came back. This is what they did. They brought it back. Look at it. They rounded the corners. They made the top white. They put little windows so you could see the paper going by. And if you look really closely, right there, there's a yellow racing stripe right there. Looked like something Czechoslovakia's designed, but it's better. We have to change. We have to do something. You have to stand for what's right, and it's not easy. Oh, I put this in here for you, too. I thought you'd like this, and then I'm running like a couple minutes over. Is that okay? You okay? A couple more minutes? You be with me? I promise you. I'll make a promise. Then I want my frickin' Big Mac, okay? You have to feed me, all right. I put this in here for you so you would see what this is like. At Kodak, when I got there, they'd already changed the logo. They had redone the logo. They made a new logo, but yet they're running around with old cards, old things, because, see, they didn't want to change them. They wanted to use up the old stuff. I go, we're Kodak. We're printers. We can change things. We can reprint them. Then I looked at the pictures, and the average person at Kodak at the time was like 27 years. So I would go to the meetings, and I would get their business card, and I would look at their picture, because, see, their pictures are taken the first day that they're there. And I would look at them and look at their picture and look at them, and I couldn't figure them out. I would pay people in my staff $100 if you could find the person on this card that's in the meeting. So I decided to change the card, so I redid it. And I said, look, let's do something different. This is when Facebook was coming. I'm one of the first 1,000 people on Twitter. I said, social media is going to be big. Let's do something. Let's put their Facebook page on there. Let's put their Twitter on there. Let's put their LinkedIn. And I said, by the way, on the back of the card, let's let them put whatever they would like on the back of the card. Isn't that cool? Kind of like a personal branding statement. So there's me on the back of my horse, Jay. I name all my horses A, B, C, D. That's Jay. I also call him Glue, but different reason. All right, you're practical. I love that. Now, so I put out this memo that I said, first we have to take the pictures of everyone again. And so they fought me. You know who came to see me? HR, legal. You can't do this. This is going to cost too much money. I said, what do you mean we can't retake everybody's pictures? You're telling me that we're Kodak and we can't afford to take pictures? Seriously, they fought me. For weeks and weeks in meetings, they fought me. So finally, I decided to do what any good change agent should do. That night, I grabbed a couple of 6-packs of beer. I went into the IT department, and I deleted all the files in the database. Yeah. And then now we got to retake the pictures. So we took the pictures, 48,000 employees at the time. We retook all the photographs. Then I decided we come up with this card. We're going to put the back, whatever you want on the back of the card. If you like your cats more than your kids, put a picture of your cats up there. I don't care. And guess who came to see me? HR and legal, again, bringing me back to the center of the stage. They said, Jeff, no, we can't. I said, why? They said, what happens, Jeff, if one employee puts something inappropriate on the back of the card? I said, I hope they do. It would liven this place up around here. I said, besides, how are we supposed to find the stupid people? Think about it. You always do find the stupid people. Changing it. Last but not least, I'll leave you with 2 more points. 1, mood. Mood. People talk about changing cultures. There's no way to change the culture at Kodak. No way. Ever. Tried to change the mood. And everywhere I would go, people would say, Jeff, make it like it used to be. Make it like it used to be. I want it to be like it used to be. I can't do that. You can't do that. I'd like to look like I used to when I was 20. But I don't. I look better. Right? That's mood. And that will win every day over culture. You have to believe that you can win before you can. And they never believed it. And that's the problem. How many times have you been to a great restaurant? Unbelievable food. The best in the world, but the employees had a terrible attitude. It ruins it. How many times have you been to a restaurant? Yeah, and the food. But the employees are so great, it makes you want to come back. That's mood. And the other thing that you have to do in order to be successful with innovation, to make sure that it's not business as usual, is to change and make the better place the new place. When I was back home a few weeks ago, I had to take my horses out and check my fences. And I could go out to the edge of the place there, and it's about 8 miles to get there, and I could ride my horse, but it takes a long time to do that. Or I could put my horse in the trailer, drive there in a matter of moments, and then get out of there and then ride around the ranch, cutting hours off of my time, being more efficient. But see, if you know anything about horses, getting a horse to go in a confined space is not an easy thing to do. Horses have evolved for millions of years by believing that anything that's walking up to it and trying to force it into something is going to eat them, okay? So they're very reluctant to get into confined spaces. And no matter when I take Jay and I walk him over to the trailer and say, hey, Jay, look inside, man. I got you some hay, I got you some oats, and we're going to see a girl. So get in, man, get in. He doesn't want to go. And I could pull him, I could winch him, I could tie him to a truck and drag him in, and he still won't go in. So what I have to do is I have to bring Jay over here, and I have to grab a little switch, and I start messing with his legs, and I go, yeah, ha, ha, ha. And I start agitating him and moving him around, making him run, ha, ha, yeah, ha, 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 ha. And then calmly walking back over, Jay, get in the trailer, man. Road trip, hey, horses, babes, get in, man. He doesn't want to go. So I have to take him back over here. Ha, ha, yeah, ha, ha. 4 or 5 times. See, I have to make this place better than this place. And that's what you have to do in business. So when you start to talk about innovation and driving people, you have to paint the vision, sell the story, but you got to make it better, or they'll never leave this place. Last but not least, when I was in college in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, at Augustana College, small little Lutheran school, our mascot was the Vikings. I had the opportunity to bring some of the greatest speakers in the history of the world onto the stage. Margaret Thatcher, Mikhail Gorbachev, Elie Wiesel, Ralph Nader. You guys remember Ralph Nader? Some of you don't know. Younger people have no idea. Older people know Ralph Nader, right? He had one of the biggest recalls in the history of American business about a car that would blow up. I tried to pick him up in a 1976 Ford Pinto at the airport, which was the car that he had recalled. I was stupid. He wouldn't get in the car. But I also brought on Jacques Cousteau. Remember Jacques Cousteau? A hero of mine. And so here I was out to dinner the night before this big speech, and I was having wine and having a beautiful dinner, and he's telling me story after story after story of these adventures. And he told me one time when he was down about 100 feet underwater, which is very deep, if you know anything about diving, and he was in a cave. And when you come up out of the cave or out of that depth at over 100 feet, you have to come up in stages or you could get the bends. And he said at the end of his diving, he looked at his watch and he knew he was running out of air. It was time to come up, so he had enough time to get out and still have a margin for error. But as he was coming out of the cave, he severed his air hose. And in that split second, he decided to swim as fast as he could for the top, even though he knew he might die from the complications of getting the bends. He took off. As he was making his way out of nowhere, someone grabbed him as one of his swimming buddies and stopped him. And even though he was also running out of air, he took off his breathing apparatus and he shared it with Mr. Cousteau. And they started taking breaths each other as they made their way up in stages. And as they ran out of air, they made it to the very top. I turned to him at dinner after he told me that story. And I said, Mr. Cousteau, you could have died. You were facing life and death. You could have died. What was going through your mind? Weren't you scared? And he said, Jeffrey, one should never be scared when you're in good company. Ladies and gentlemen, look around you at this conference, the people that you have shared with. You are in great company. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.